Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for clicking on this video. I am in the game Kaya of ITGK Sports, and alongside me, my brother and partner on the court, Super Shadow 515. Say hello to the people.
What's up, everybody? Today we're going into, what episode is this?
I want to say it's 4. It might be 5.
No, it's 4.
It's got to be 4.
It's got to be 4. It's been a long couple of weeks in 2K.
It was overdue last week before my computer broke.
Well, yeah, your computer breaking definitely didn't help that.
So
it's been a long couple of weeks in 2K, and there's a lot to talk about shooting. The rest of the game we'll touch on it, I'm sure, but specifically shooting, there's a lot to talk about.
The funny thing is, like, we've already talked about shooting, I think, in both of the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So, do we really want to cross this bridge again?
I think we have to. It's honestly, okay, let's cover the rest of the game first, and we'll circle back around to shooting. Honestly, to me, there are issues with the rest of the game, but I like it the way that it is.
Yeah, it's like the only real issue that I feel like eventually has to change is shooting.
Right. Because you talk about some of the other, hot topics, like steals. Steals are a little bit strong, but I have a couple of different players with different levels of ball handling and unpluckable, and even with the players that I have that only have silver unpluckable because they got an 85 ball handle and not the 92 post control for the gold unpluckable through post control, I can hold onto the ball just fine with those builds. As long as you know what you're doing as a ball handler, you can, for the most part, keep your pocket from getting picked. Now, you'll still get picked, but it's going to happen. And my build that has Hall of Fame unpluckable, because I built an insane high-level ball handler, it doesn't get picked very often. It happens every once in a while, but not very often. So, at least to me, if you know what you're doing, you can work around the steals. I don't think they're overpowered.
Finishing is another thing where if you have a slasher with driving dunk, that's fine as long as you have a good layup rating too. You'll get plenty of dunks, but you need the layup rating if you're going to slash at all. If you have a build that has just a dunk rating and no layup rating, like, good luck.
You're going to struggle.
Just a layup and no dunk, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I've seen both sides of that. So my first guard, the one with the 98 ball handle, doesn't get a driving dunk, but it has an 88 driving layup. And you've seen some of the layups that I can pull off with a 6'2 ball handling guard with a high layup rating. Mm-hmm. That build can do some crazy things when it comes to layups. But I also have a 6'10 power forward that I use as a undersized, small ball big, basically, park big. And it has its driving dunk and standing dunk, but not the layup. And if I can't force the dunk, because dunk meter is pretty bad this year, unless it's an open dunk, and in which case, why are you using the meter? But I digress. If you can't get the dunk, you're sunk completely. You're just not going to make it unless it's wide open, and in that case, you're going to get the dunk.
To me, the dunk meter is for when the man who's supposed to be defending the shot is slightly out of position.
You can force the dunk.
Forcing the dunk instead of taking the layup.
Yep.
So he's already out of position. You could take a crafty layup, but you can just go for the dunk.
And that's where...
Or if you feel like you absolutely want to just body this man.
Yeah, which if you choose to absolutely body somebody, you're going to struggle to hit it because your green window is a sliver.
But it is a rare play in the NBA as well.
It is.
That's really, in my opinion, what the dunk meter is for. It's for getting a dunk when you otherwise wouldn't get it.
Which they did add non-meter contact dunks this year.
But they're rarer.
They are a bit rarer, but they still happen quite a bit. I mean, I've been contact dunked on quite a bit. And I've gotten a couple of contact dunks with my build, too. So, yeah, specifically when you talk about finishing, I think the bigger problem is standing finishing. Layups are underpowered, and standing dunks are overpowered, but altogether it kind of balances out. So that's not even a problem either.
It's technically not a problem. It just feels like, man, you might as well only get a standing dunk rating sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. But there are also times where you go for the standing dunk and you might hit the shot if you have a close shot, but you miss it because you don't.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. So, jump shot contest too is another thing you could talk about, like on the flip side of shooting. Some shot contests are kind of weird.
The difference is you can shoot through contests this year.
Yeah.
So that helps that a lot. Like, do you want to reduce contests and make it so there's more wide open shots if you're already shooting through contests sometimes?
No, I'm not saying reduce contests. I'm not saying it's bad or that it's good. I'm just saying it's kind of weird because there are times where I feel like I will contest a shot pretty well and it says open. And there are other times where I feel like I'm wide open or at least, lightly contested and it says like 40%. And it's like, or there are even times where I'll take a jump shot and I think I'm wide open. There's nobody within 5 feet of me. And it says like 8% contested. And I'm thinking, from what? There's nobody around. So it's weird, but as you said, you can shoot through contests, so it's not really that bad. The rest of the game is fine to even really good. The problem is just shooting. It always comes back around to shooting this year.
And I've had my struggles on and off, and I've finally achieved a headspace that I'm at least satisfied with, but it took me more than a whole season to reach that point. And I'm fine with shooting now. I don't like it. I know it could be better for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me anymore. That's the headspace I'm in now. And I have fought through so many different things as a 2K player over the years and trying to maintain a healthy attitude about the game that it's the only thing that's kept me playing 2K24 and kept me from just quitting the game when I felt like I should have.
Yeah.
It's like I have an Embiid build, and that build has an 82 3-point shot. And naturally, given the way the game is played and the way my teammates play with that build, in previous years, yeah, I'd build a build like that, but it's almost always just a stretch big. Like, it mostly sits in the corner and it comes in from the corner to do some stuff from time to time. To use that build properly this year, I had to flip that on its head. Yeah. I had to work for my shots inside and closer to the rim, and then progressively take fewer and fewer shots as I get further away from the rim. And most of my players play that way now. Everything but my lockdown. Everything plays that way.
Yeah. And this is something that I've noticed too as we talk about this kind of thinking about more than just a 3-point shot on a build. So you have a build with a 3-point shot. That's great. There's definitely a place for that. A lot of people like to shoot threes. But what else can your build do? Because what they're aiming, unless you are one of those truly elite players, and if you are, credit to you, you do you. But for the other 95% of people, if you're not one of those elite shooters, you kind of need something other than just a 3-point shot. Now, maybe you're just good enough at shooting and you're a 3-point shot hunter with a mid-range or a driving layup or both, or a driving dunk, and you say, okay, I'm going to use the threat of the 3-point shot, my 40 to 45% on my threes, to get them to commit, and then I'll blow by my man for a easier shot. Mm-hmm. Instead of forcing the 3. But how many people in that situation are going to force the 3? Almost all of them.
Yeah. We have a bunch of guys in the group that we play with that build builds that are 3-point shooters first. And yeah, their builds might be able to do other stuff. Most of them have builds that do at least more than just shoot threes. I think you're the only one that has a build that's like just the 3 guy. Well, the 99 3-point shot build.
That build isn't even just a threes guy. It gets an 84 mid-range. And with the level of animations and badges it gets, that's enough to kill in the mid-range. Especially with the threat of a 99 3-point shot. No, the build that I really struggle with is my 3 and D point.
Because the only option it has on offense is
the 3-point shot. Its mid-range gets into the 70s, which you might be able to hit occasionally. You can. It's just not a great shot. And its layup gets into the high 60s, I think. It has a 94 perimeter defense and a 98 pass accuracy. I wanted a two-way playmaker that could also shoot, and that's what I got. The problem is the 3-point shot is its only offensive tool, so if I need to create a shot, I'm very limited in what that build can do.
So really, you would have been better off with a 75 to 80 3-point shot that's more of a catch and shoot shooter, and then like a high layup rating, and maybe a decent mid-range so that
Yeah.
you can kind of create a little bit of everything.
The other thing I
instead
could have done, and I've seen a few other builds that are kind of like this out there. If I didn't go for the 98 pass accuracy, which that's kind of a me thing. I love being a playmaker. So I usually have, like when we were on the pie chart system, I had an all yellow. Or my first build last year had a 99 99 pass accuracy. But I wanted a playmaker. And I decided 98 over 99 because I don't need the Hall of Fame bailout, all that. So anyways, if I didn't go with a 98 pass accuracy, I saw another guy that had a build that had a 91 pass accuracy, more ball handle, the same level of perimeter defense, and more scoring. And I thought, that's honestly a really good build. And I can't remember the guy's name. He was in my neighborhood, my part of the city, and I thought I'll just check his build. And it turned out it looked like a pretty good build. But it's something that I can't do the way I built my player. And I think that's something that a lot of people are struggling with right now. If you built a build that it's designed to basically only get a 3-point shot, that is your offense, and you don't have another option, you're probably struggling right now. And if you're struggling as a guard that's normally taking most of the shots because that's how most people play, then your team is struggling.
Yeah, that's another thing this year that hurts shooting. The more shots you take, yeah, you might get hot, you might carry for most of a game, if not a whole game, but eventually you're going to cool off again.
Yeah.
It happens to everyone.
Yep. Absolutely.
You're going to have your hot games, you're going to absolutely kill people, and then even if, let's say it's a rec game, you kill the whole first quarter, you keep taking that same volume of shots, you get into the second quarter, halfway through the second quarter maybe, not hitting those same shots no more.
Yeah. That's just how it works this year. You can't be like if you are really, really good or having a really good game, you can carry an offense through 4 quarters of basketball.
I did it with my power forward yesterday.
You did. But if you're not that guy, or you're not having the game of your career, you're probably not going to be able to carry the offensive load that way. That's just not how the game is built this year. They specifically designed the game to get around that.
I don't have an issue with that either. The real issue is the way that they decided to patch shooting. I think that's the real sticking point. Cry skill gap all you want. The community asked for this. There's no skill gap, there's no skill gap, there's no skill. They kept increasing the skill gap every single year, and people just kept saying there's no skill gap until this year, and now nobody can shoot except for that 1 or 2 guys that can. And everybody else is miserable, looking at quitting the game. They don't want to play it anymore. They hate it. They hate shooting. They can't stand it. Just as soon as they think they've got it locked in on their jump shot and they start hitting their shots, shooting gets patched again. And now it's like, oh, now I got to learn it all over again. And it's just frustrating. It's annoying. It's demoralizing.
Yeah.
As a 2K player.
And even if you are, I've said this before, I'm pretty sure on this podcast, I've said it before. Even if you are hitting, basketball is a team game. So if you're not the guy that tries to carry the offense, the ideal form of our offense is me going 7 for 7 on threes. If that's not you, then you're frustrated not because your teammates are playing bad, but because the game simply says, no, you can't hit that shot right now.
It literally feels like the game, you just time it well, and the game literally just says, yeah, you timed it right, but it's not going in.
Well, and what we've heard rumors of recently about the green window moving because of online latency and stuff like that, that doesn't help either. So there are times where you can literally take a shot and you're like, oh, that shot is perfect. And then it's not. It says slightly early. Oh, okay, well, I'll time it very slightly longer. And then, oh, your green window's back to where it was. Now it's slightly late, and you're completely lost because you don't know what's going on.
Oh, those are funny enough. Then you hit the button. Here's a go. It's perfect shot. Perfect shot. Late. Not slightly. Late.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... It is frustrating the way shooting is this year. And the other thing that frustrates me about shooting is I shoot like 50% from the floor and 40% from three with a build that has a 72 three-point shot. So I go out there and I do my thing, and I'll have a game where I'll light it up on like 6 of 8, and I'm the driving force of the team's offense in a 3v3 game. I go out and I take the same quality of shots with the same timing, and I'm 2 for 6 in the next game. It's just frustrating because there's no consistency.
And part of the problem, I think, is, and I've got all kinds of theories as to why shooting is the way it is, but I'll just get to the core of the issue. Asking for a skill gap wasn't a bad thing. Because in a game that's played competitively, like 2K is trying to make this an e-sport, that's a competitive game.
Absolutely.
In a game that's played competitively, rewarding ridiculously high precision and players who are far more precise than others at every aspect of the game is inherently good. It is. It is inherently good for the health of the game competitively at the highest level. What 2K has done this year is set a ridiculously high skill floor. That is where I am at, and I feel like I'm better than about 50% of the 2K community. It's not by much. I don't think I'm far over 50%, but I have consistently won far more than 50% of my games across all modes over the previous years. When I play in my typical position at big man, I feel like I am usually the better big man on the floor, at least. Not always, but usually. And I'm sure there are many people that feel that same way. But I don't want every game that I go in to be a life or death situation. So Stage and Pro-Am are set to be played on Hall of Fame difficulty. Can you feel a difference between shooting in Stage or Pro-Am? Well, specifically for us, it's Pro-Am because we don't play Stage. Can you feel a difference in shooting or gameplay from Pro-Am to Park, 3v3 Park, 3v3 Pro-Am to 3v3 Park? Do you feel anything, any difference?
Very slightly, which is a far cry from the way it used to be.
And if you're slightly off in Park, you're
probably still not hitting.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like percentages are probably a little bit higher for you in the city, in your affiliation, or in the theater, or whatever.
There's barely a difference.
So, going back in history a little bit, you know, your average player just starting out, I'm going to play with my buddies, we're just going to play some basketball and have fun. There is no chill online game experience anymore.
Because every mode had to be comp. Every game had to be comp. I'm better than this guy, and yeah, I'm playing Park, but it doesn't matter. I'm better at timing my jump shot than this guy. I'm better at using my dribble combos than this guy. I'm better at this, that, and the other thing than the other guy. So I should win my Park games. It has to be a skill gap. There has to be a skill gap in every mode. Because every mode had to be comp. Now, there is no fun mode. Cages is gone.
Which was kind of a niche thing anyways, but it had its place. People could go there and just, have dumb fun.
Even if Cages still existed, I don't think that's the answer for, us, if we wanted to get on and have fun.
We've never been great at Cages anyways, because we didn't play it very much.
We played it a little bit in 19, our first year, and that was it.
That's really about it. We would just go there to have fun trampoline dunking the ball. That's what Cages was. Oh, but people are actually shooting threes, so you have to pump fake the guys under the rim into jumping early so that you could actually make a three.
Yeah, Cages is kind of dumb, which is why we stopped.
Which is why we stopped playing Cages. But that's neither here nor there. It's just, there is no slightly relaxed, I'm still going to play the game well and have fun along the way because I don't feel like I have to, be sitting there sweating it out for 10 minutes every single game.
Where's the game mode where white's going? That's my question. Where's the game mode with the whiter green window with chance to green that ramps up as you get closer to the peak of the window and then ramps back down again? Where is the mode for the guy that just bought 2K this year, just now?
And is trying to figure out how to play the game online.
Good luck to that guy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this was not the year for you, man.
No. Get a copy of 2K23.
It's laughable that this is the case because they said going into the year that they were trying to make the game more approachable to new players this year. And I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to dial the competitiveness back this year, aim for a little bit more of a sim experience. I'm not trying to be comp anymore anyway. I knew that the comp scene was not going to just die because the game wasn't quite as sweaty as it was. So I was like, all right, you know what? Fine. It doesn't bother me. There will be people it bothers, but it won't bother me. No, this game is more comp than any 2K game that has ever come before. There is so wide of a skill gap that if you are not him, you suck. That's what it feels like.
And we were talking about this earlier. How many people do you see that have good quality shooting builds that should be able to, like in past 2Ks, these guys would be hitting 50% of their threes, and they're shooting in the teens this year.
Guys with 90-something three balls that are shooting sub 20%.
Guys that have a quality three-point shot that their game is carried by their finishing rating because they're finishing against guys without interior defense. And they shoot 30% of their threes because they get the absolute best looks for three. They're not forcing it.
That's honestly efficient basketball.
That is the efficient basketball. But those guys, we're talking those guys that had a dunk rating and a three-point shot, those guys used to be lethal because of their three-point shot. Now they're lethal because of their finishing because so few people can actually stop
lethal
them.
because of their finishing last year too, but it was also easier to shoot last year, so you play way off.
It was also easier to finish last year.
Yeah, it was just all around easier. So
At least for us in current gen.
You play, well, I'm pretty sure next gen was the same. You play way off of them to prevent the drive because they've been killing you with the drive, and they just kill you from three.
Yep.
That was last year in a nutshell. Inside Out ruled the year.
Now you play back and they either finish on you anyways, or you force them to take the three and they hit about 30 to 35% of them. Which, honestly, if they're aiming for realistic percentages, 35% is not a bad bar to hit. It's just, again, it goes back to, it feels like there's no, you're hitting 33% of your threes, you miss two, you make one, you miss two, you make one. It's you make three, you miss six. It just frustrates me because of the shooting streaks. One guy of my skill level can have a hot game while I'm having a cold game, and he wins because he had a hot game where he had a slightly wider green window and a little bit easier time hitting a shot. That's it. And that's where you can make an argument. I'm not going to make this argument, but in that situation, you can, as a player, say, is that skill gap or is that just RNG? If two guys of the same skill level, one wins because he was hot and managed to make his first shot and get a little bit of a rhythm, and his green window started to widen, and the other guy missed his first shot and he went into a shooting slump, and he's now shooting into a tiny green window.
The saying is, you live by the three, you die by the three. This year, if you're a three-point shooter,
You're dying by the
you
three.
are dying. You're done. You're dead. You're dead, son.
Unless you're one of those, I'll say like the top 10%. Those guys that are shooting,
I think it's less than 10%.
Well, I'm talking about like the guys that are shooting 75% down to about the guys that are shooting like around 50%.
The top level shooters.
The top level shooters.
The best spot up shooter that we have in our group.
He shoots 45% from three with a 90.
And he has some of the craziest streaks, where he'll go from hitting 30% contesteds and hitting 6 in a row, and then the next game he'll be like 1 for 10 from three.
It is crazy. The wide swings of consistency that he'll have. Now, altogether, he is the best.
It's a 94 3-point shot.
Of our group, he is the most consistent shooter. He is on more often than not, at least compared to the rest of the group, he does shoot the highest three-point percentage, and it's honestly a really good three-point percentage. The problem is, the way his build works, that is basically his only option. Again,
he has some low quality, low level finishing options, and a mid-range shot that last I checked still wasn't done. It'll be kind of option.
It'll be passable once. It already is kind of passable where it's at. You know, Silver Midi Magician only requires like a 72 or 74 mid-range. So you can hit a couple of mid-range pull-ups or standstill mid-ranges if you're open with that kind of range. But it's not going to carry your offense.
He's
That's
running a Klay Thompson build. Like he's there to get catch and shoot threes and play some decent defense.
Yeah.
That's his role. He gets catch and shoot threes, he plays decent defense.
And honestly, he plays that role very well until he has that 1 for 10 game. At which point, good luck to the rest of the team because we rely on him being a consistent shooter. Because they play off of him in rotation, kick it to him on the wing, and he drills a 3. And that's a big part of our offense. It has been for years. And we used to almost entirely run the offense through him. When he was open, he'd get the ball and he'd hit probably 60% of his threes. 70% of times. He's a good shooter, but you just can't, it feels like anyways, you can't rely on that this year.
Yeah, because it's like we said, the hot cold streaks. It feels like it's too volatile. Like we need to bring it tighter, so the cold isn't as cold and hot isn't as hot. And something that's really hurt us as a team this year, we have always been a 3s over 2s team.
Yep.
We would pass up wide open looks under the rim to get wide open 3s because 3s are worth more than 2s, and we counted on our shooters to hit those shots.
Because most of the time they would.
We have still, for the most part, been playing that way this year, and you can't play that way this year. We put an asterisk on everything. I'm done putting an asterisk on it. Yeah, there are always exceptions, but for 99.9% of the community, you can't take 3s over 2s this year. You got an open 2, you take the open 2, unless it's the end of the game and you need the 3.
Yeah. That's just it's how it works this year.
Even a guy with a 25 layup rating,
which is impossible because your layup rating goes up with your shooting ability or your speed.
But let's just say he hasn't invested the VC in it.
Okay, yeah.
A guy with a 25 layup rating hasn't invested into it at all, still should be taking layups. A wide open layup over a wide open 3.
Probably.
Assuming he can guarantee the wide open layup.
Yeah.
You got a 99 3-point build. You've had games. You are lethal more often than not with that build, but you have had games where you've had to step in for mid ranges, get to the rim and take a layup, do stuff like that to keep yourself warm and keep yourself going until the 3-point shot came back around again after a while.
Yeah. And if you are a person that relies on your 3-point shot, I think you're going to have to understand that that's just part of the game this year. And I said this to you the other day, given how 3-point shooting is, I don't know if I'm going to build another build that has a higher 3 than mid-range. Because I'm a good mid-range shooter. I like taking those shot creator mid-range shots.
Mid-range is cheaper.
Mid-range is cheaper. I look at it and I say, if I'm going to shoot, 35% with a 78 and 45% with an 88, why go for the 88 when I could go for the 78 and have an 84 mid-range and also up my finishing a little bit so I can be a scorer at any point?
Changing your mentality away from that, especially if you've been playing 2K for years, is challenging. We have guards that we play with that have always been 3s over 2s guys.
The guys that every year build play shots, 3-point shot hunter.
Or builds that even if they're not that, they play them like they are that. Specifically one.
Yeah.
One of them, he built a slasher with a 3-point shot, and all he ever did was left, right, and shoot 3s.
Yep.
I don't know that I've ever seen him dunk with that's an exaggeration, but still. You just can't do that this year. And then you turn around and you say, well, if I don't shoot, I'll never get good at shooting. Bro, you're making yourself a worse shooter by continuing to shoot because you're giving yourself cold zones. You know what caused my biggest shooting slump this year?
You started missing shots. You forced yourself to continue shooting, and you got cold zones.
We were playing Pro-Am. We had just started playing Pro-Am this year. The windows were slightly tighter, and I didn't realize that I was consistently hitting the edge of the green window. And so I went from hitting a decent clip to hitting flat nothing, except for like one game out of every 10 to 15. I would like randomly hit a bunch of shots. And then I would go back to missing literally everything. And I made myself ridiculously cold. Just about every zone from mid and 3 was cold. And once I finally I put the build on the shelf and went to the Art of Shooting gym 2-3 weeks in a row and warmed myself back up, eliminated those cold zones, got back to neutral, got a hot zone. Made an insane difference.
Yeah.
The hot zones, you can hit without hot zones. If you've got a cold zone, don't shoot. Just don't. Not unless you have takeover. Because I shoot 30-35% from 3 with this build, with this jump shot in a neutral zone. 30-35% neutral or hot zone. I shoot less than 10% in a cold zone. I might get a 5% boost in a hot zone. I don't know lethal. I haven't gotten lethal zones on it yet. I'm still working on warming it back up. But I hit nothing with a cold zone. Same timing. So if you have cold zones, warm them back up, and until you do, don't shoot it unless you have takeover or you absolutely desperately need the 3. It also killed my post game because a part of my post game is my fades. My fades and that build isn't great at hitting hooks yet. It will be because I haven't got the close shot up all the way yet. But my fades, they were just, I turned into a bricklaying machine.
Yeah.
I'd take wide open fades, and I couldn't hit my fades either because I'm fading from cold zones.
Or you'd go for the mid-range jump shot because your mid-range is a little bit better than your 3, and it's closer, it's easier to hit, and you couldn't hit that either.
Nope.
So everything was missing. Basically, the only thing you had was layups and dunks at the rim.
Yep. Built a 3-level scorer big man that plays decent defense and could not do anything away from the rim because I shot myself into an ice cube tray. I just turned myself into an ice machine. It was embarrassingly bad. And that was my dark moment this year.
And I think anybody would understand that would be a tough time period. I mean, at the peak of that slump, just before you started pulling out of it, you were shooting like 11% from 3.
And less than 30% from the floor.
Yeah. It was bad. It was very bad. But then...
And that carried outside of Pro-Am. It got bad enough. Pro-Am started the slide, but I got so cold so fast, I couldn't do anything in or out of Pro-Am. Rec Center, park, didn't matter. Can't play. Can't shoot, can't nothing.
But I think a big part of getting back into form was between fixing your cold zones and changing your mentality. And I think this is a big thing that we need to talk about along with this is the mentality that we have or that we should have when it comes to playing this game.
Yeah. People, we talked about, begging for a skill gap and stuff. And part of that is people like to feel like they're better than other people. It's an ego thing. It is what it is. Most people are that way, at least to a certain extent. If nothing else, they like to win and they don't like to lose. I think that's like universal, right? You like to win and you don't like to lose.
Yeah.
Maybe you just love the game so much you don't care if you lose. You're out there to have fun and enjoy playing the game.
Except you can't even do that this year.
But here's the thing. Creating this mindset has permeated the community to the extent that I'm going to overgeneralize. Just understand that I am intentionally overgeneralizing my statements here to make a point. Everybody plays the same. Everybody, not as much this year. The builds are a little bit more varied, but especially in previous years. Everybody plays the same. Everybody makes the same build. Everybody uses the same animations. Heck, 2K21, everybody looked the same. Some people still use that stupid face. You know the face.
Yeah.
Wide nose, blonde fro, LeBron beard. He's a drippy face scan. It's a derpy face scan. Idiot. Anyways. Yeah, I have issues with the drippy face scan. Come at me. But because that's how you win, right? They had mathematically, scientifically calculated exactly how to be as efficient as possible in the game so that they could win as many games as possible. And it didn't matter if you were better than them or not, because if you did not play their way, you were not comp. You were not good. I could beat a guy 22-2 in 2s and 1s, wherever, and he would call me out and call me trash because the way that I scored was not comp. He said, come back with a real build and play the real way and I'll beat you. Why is that asterisk we have to put on this game that I just won? If anything, it should be the other way around, right?
Yeah.
I made it harder on myself to play this way. But there's a reason I've chosen to play in a non-meta way. And it dates back to 2K21. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I was comp once. We played competitive Pro-Am in 2K21, and we got good at it. I built a meta big man, albeit with a 3-point shot. That was my spin on it, because I thought they will figure out how to shoot with low 3-ball, and when they do, I'll be ready. They never really did.
No.
They never really did.
Not with an all-red level of 3-point
47 3-point shot.
No. Even this year, people are out there. Some people are out there hitting with a 55. If you don't have shooting take, you don't shoot with that level of 3-point shot.
One guy in the community, he can shoot that. Everybody else,
I'm talking about like a 47. You just don't shoot with that.
yeah.
But anyways,
So I built the meta build. I got all the meta animations. I figured out how to play the meta style, and we became comp. We tried to be comp. We tried to win. We played Pro-Am constantly, and we won too.
yeah,
We were good at it.
we won like 70% of our games.
Plus, yeah. And it was the most miserable experience I had playing 2K. I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I didn't really like the build I was on. I started to get frustrated. Winning meant nothing, and losing was intolerable because there was no reason for me to lose, I felt like. And then it became mind-numbing too, because even more than at other levels, you see a bunch of people playing exactly the same way. It was frustrating as they force you into animations that you didn't want to get, and forced you to play bad in some situations, some matchups. I didn't like being a smaller, faster, skinnier, lower weight big man. It was not what I was used to. I was good at it. I did not like it. I didn't like playing that way. I hated the game when I tried to be comp. So I made the decision, and I started to hate my teammates too, and the way they played, the builds they were making. And it was like, I can't keep doing this anymore. So I quit.
Not quit altogether, but quit being comp.
I quit being comp. I went back to my old builds, my bigger bigs, my stronger bigs that were less efficient, that didn't play the same level of defense. They didn't help as hard on screen hedging and stuff like that. We stopped winning so many games. Our win percentage dropped back below 70%. We never really got past Pro Bronze and Pro-Am again in 2K21. But ultimately was the best decision I ever made. Otherwise, I would have stopped playing 2K a long, long time ago. And I tell you that story to tell you this. Comp is not for everybody. Don't be comp because people tell you you have to be. Don't build a build because somebody said you need to build this build or you have to build a build this way. It's not bad to get advice, especially on builds. It's something you're going to spend money on most likely. Getting advice, finding someone you trust to at least model your build after, if not straight up copy it, is not a bad thing. But don't feel like you have to build the perfect build. Play with the meta SIGs, the meta animations, in the meta playstyle. Left riding behind screens, ducking and shooting threes, throwing lobs to the big man when he cuts to the rim, dotting the lock in the corner. You don't even have to play point guard to be comp. And if you want to play point guard, you don't have to be a three-point shot hunter. If you want to build a lockdown, you don't need a 99 steal. You don't need a 99 perimeter defense. You don't have to be a corner sitting, hash sitting lock. You can build builds that don't dribble. You can build builds that don't shoot. You can build builds that don't play defense. You better be careful with them. But if you decide you want to do that, do what makes the game fun. If you decide that you do want to be comp, that you can't stand losing, and you want to win doing anything, and I do mean anything, that means not being the center of attention. That means not touching the ball on offense at all in some games, just because it's not efficient or smart for you to touch the ball because you have a terrible matchup or whatever it is. If you can stomach that, if you really decide that that's what you want to do, more power to you. It can be done. You can make the switch. But you don't have to be that way. And you don't have to fight super hard against the meta either. Just do you. If you want to be meta, but don't be afraid to not be. You might end up having more fun with the game in the long run.
And this is something that I mentioned along those lines in a conversation we had privately recently. The three-point shot hunter, the point guard has to be the center of attention going 7 of 7 from 3. That has been a major part of the 2K community's mindset, especially since 2K21. It existed before that, obviously. But especially as difficult as shooting was in 21 current gen, everybody decided, I gotta be a play shot. And that has stuck every year since.
More than half of the community wants to play what is a third or less of the positions on the court.
So this mentality has permeated 2K, especially because people have been rewarded for bad behavior on the basketball court for years. Doing the same moves over and over, taking not the greatest shots and still making them because, oh, I'm a play shot, I can make that shot. All I gotta say is 5% greens in 2K21. Everybody out there that played 2K21 online, you know what I'm talking about with the 5% greens. These guys speed glitching behind screens, speed glitching and curry sliding behind screens so that they can hit a 5% contest over you because you got there a frame too late. It's that mentality that has poisoned the 2K community. Everybody feels like they have to play that way. And to me, as a point guard, I see the worst of it because I face it game after game after game. I got sick of it by the end of 2K21 just to face more of it in 2K22, just to face more of it in 2K23, just to face more of it in 2K24. Year after year, it's the same thing. Everybody wants to be a play shot, three-point shot hunter, whatever it's called in the latest game. I think, and this is going to be a controversial take, but I honestly believe this, kind of going along with what you said about don't be afraid to do something other than what is considered meta. I honestly believe, and it hasn't been easy for me, that this year, while being difficult, has been the detox that the 2K community needs to try and break from that mold. Because it has been the same thing year after year after year after year It's time for something else. I don't like shooting the way it is. But because shooting is the way it is, people feel like they have to build a 3-point shot hunter. So what do? They bring the numbers down a little bit further, which hurts everybody. Because they're aiming for a specific target of 3-point percentage.
Because people can't play the way that they want to play if they don't have a ridiculously high 3-point shot rating. If they're not hitting that percentage that they think they should be hitting, they'll build a build with a higher rating just to get those percentages up to where they want them to be so that they can continue to play the style the way that they want. And that means that on average, those 3-point ratings are going to go up, making 3-point percentages go up, meaning shooting has to get tougher, meaning for people that don't have those ratings now, you pretty much can't hit anymore, it feels like. That's maybe a little bit of projection, like it's probably not exactly that, but I'm sure it's not helping.
Right.
If everybody is Steph Curry, who is shooting the 30%, the 25%?
And the thing is, as they jack up their 3-point shot attribute higher and higher and aim for a higher percentage, and it keeps getting adjusted back, we think, because that's what they're saying, right? We're aiming for a specific percentage.
That's the problem with having percentages being a goal.
But what they're saying then is, okay, I'm just going to up my 3-point shot rating. Well, what happens when the 99 3-point shot is hitting about 42% for your average player? What about the other, 90% of the 2K community that doesn't have that? Where are they going to be left?
Well, and let's say that they don't adjust it across the board, and in order to enable shooting with lower ratings still, they keep those a little bit wider and they just shrink the higher ratings for players that are hitting a little bit too much. Now what's the point in having a high rating? You might as well have a low rating at that point, if that's the way they do it. So it's nothing but an issue. I understand wanting to have realistic percentages, and honestly, Mike Wang is right that if they can get people to shoot more realistic percentages, it makes for better, more dynamic, more realistic, and more entertaining basketball.
And this is where it comes back to my point of they're trying to break people of that mold that I have to shoot a 3, I have to shoot a 3, I have to shoot a 3. I have to be a 3-point shot hunter so I can be as efficient as possible in shooting a 3 and hitting it. You don't have to play basketball that way. You don't have to play 2K that way, however you put it, which 2K is basketball despite what some people say. It is basketball. You don't have to be a 3-point shot hunter. You would have so much more variety to your experience if you just accept that and build something else. Now, if that's the only thing you want to be, there's always going to be those guys that aren't that way. But I feel like there's an uncommonly high amount of people that play in that specific way because they think that's the only way they should play. Mm-hmm. And I think the point that both of us are trying to make is this year they're trying to force people out of that mindset of this is the only way to play.
I agree with trying to get people to not do that. I think that this specific way of bringing percentages down is just flat wrong. I do not agree. Not for all modes at the very least. Maybe for comp modes. You want to make it green or miss, super tight windows in comp modes, fine. I understand having the green or miss. Like I said, a good skill gap is healthy for a competitive game. It's part of what contributes to having a healthy competitive atmosphere. But there has to be something else for everybody else. Because not everybody wants to be comp, not everybody can be comp. Forget wants to be, not everybody can be comp. And some 3-point shot windows are so small, if they continue to get any smaller, we are looking at borderline physically impossible for people to shoot consistently.
Unless you are the top 1%.
I'm talking about the guys that aren't.
Yeah.
There are guys like me, and specifically worse than me. Their motor skills are not as fine and not as responsive. I already have a reaction time I would call it an impairment. It's not like any kind of disability. It's just that my reaction time is unusually very slow for someone of my age. Significantly slower than other people. More than 50% slower than other people of my age. Not like I'm old or anything, but...
Feels like it sometimes when we talk about playing actual basketball and these 8-year-olds are calling us out for not being comp.
Well, what are you going to do? People will always call you out for something.
Yeah.
So
for people with your level of shooting or worse.
It's not sustainable. I honestly, when I'm hitting, it's fine. But more than half the time I play, I'm either struggling to hit or not hitting at all. The windows are so small. If I'm tired, I fall outside of being basically physically capable of hitting the green window. Because it's not muscle memory, you have to react to a cue.
Yep.
And so that can lead to me trying to anticipate the cue. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you're talking about hitting a cue on reaction, my reaction time is so bad I can't use other people's cues. And so if the windows get any smaller, I'm not going to be able to physically react to those cues. We're already at the edge of that.
And the reality is, shooting is already a little bit too difficult. So, kind of putting a bow on this, I think it's really two things need to happen. The average consumer, the 2K player, needs to work on their mindset. It's something that's been decaying for years now.
And 2K seems like they're trying to combat the toxicity and the selfishness and the hive mind this year.
But at the same time, shooting is not where it should be.
No, it is not.
It is nowhere close to
whether you're hitting or not. I think everybody can agree shooting is just not right this year.
Even the guys that, you said this earlier, even the guys that are hitting are complaining about shooting.
Hitting 60, 65, 70% of their shots, not cheaters, and still complaining about hitting or about shooting being what it is this year.
So
and we're not the only ones complaining about shooting streaks either.
Yes, I know. So between shooting needing to change and people's mentality needs to change, there is a happy medium in there somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but there is a medium in there somewhere where we can all meet together and it will work.
I think we are on the precipice. I don't know if it's going to happen in 24. We might be stuck with this for the rest of the year. But in 2K25, I would look for whites to make a comeback.
And honestly, I think that might be the only way that this gets fixed. As much as people are going to hate that, maybe in Pro-Am, the comp modes, Pro-Am stage, places like that, you leave greens, the green or miss, basically like it is now, because those guys that want to be at the top of that whole thing, those are the guys that are okay with shooting being as tough as it is, because they're really good at timing their shot. Maybe you loosen it up just a little bit to give those guys a break. But for everybody else, if you make whites a thing, if you remove greens, or give at the very least the ramping green window where your percentage, is on a curve to the peak of your
I will say that
window.
I would be okay with them removing greens. Most people would not.
Most people would not.
Would not be.
My point is, if you allow whites to go in, it will lead to a more natural basketball environment where I timed the shot well, I got pretty open, it just didn't go in. Because the way the game has been for years, if you miss a wide open shot with a quality shooter, it's your fault. When actually this year, it's not necessarily your fault, it's 2K's fault, because shooting is extremely precise.
And if you get cold, basically impossible.
Right. If you get cold, it's basically impossible because your green window shrinks on what's already a small window, and now it's ridiculous unless you either get lucky or you're just that guy and you've been off. And then you can just pick it back up where you left off and you're fine. So, shooting needs to change. I honestly believe whites in non-comp modes, in the park, in the theater, stuff like that. Maybe you have...
Make green or miss a theater mode.
Make it a theater mode. Or, how about this? You have, instead of different affiliations, you have basically two different groups of matchmaking and open courts. Where you have one side, imagine the city as it stands, where you have Elite on one side and Rise on the other. Imagine instead of Elite on one side and Rise on the other and everybody plays the same, on one side you have, it's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more sim style, where there's fewer greens, but whites go in, and things are a little bit more chill for matchmaking threes, even ranked game modes and stuff like that. And then on the other side, you have green or miss everywhere. Things are super tight and everybody has to be at the top of their game. And you know what? There are probably times that, as much as we have been complaining about it this year, we would probably still go to the comp side every once in a while to dip our toes in, because
That's what we did with Pro-Am.
that's what we do with Pro-Am, what we did in previous years. But this year, it's like shooting is already tight enough. Why am I going to Pro-Am where it's even tighter?
Yeah, it's like so that we can play against guys that are hitting and we hit even less.
Exactly.
The extra VC is the reason they go.
Extra VC and rep, that's it.
Do you even get more rep this year?
Probably. I mean, that's always been a thing in Pro-Am. I haven't stopped to do the math, nor have I heard anybody else's math, but I'm sure it is the case.
Anyways, one last thing. When it comes to being healthy, don't be that guy that refuses to do anything but 2K in the way that you play 2K. Whether that means playing 2K but playing a different mode, like My NBA, which is fun. I will attest to this. You know me. I'm the My NBA guy. Right?
I mean, I'll attest to it too. I have had fun in the My NBA things that we've done.
And this year, it's even better than it has been in previous years, where it was already my favorite mode. Because the AI plays so much more realistically this year. If you do player lock or whatever, you can count on the AI to actually hit their shots without going crazy with the AI sliders.
Yep. I will say our approach towards My NBA is probably a little bit skewed because we have custom sliders, but your sliders aren't that crazy.
Well, you think other people aren't going to have some custom sliders?
Yeah. Basically, the biggest thing is you basically turned off shot timing for the AI. That's really the biggest thing you changed.
Actually, that's off by default.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it shows you how much I mess with sliders.
Play Now Online.
Yeah.
You and I have had fun playing Play Now Online.
And I imagine there's probably Play Now Online footage playing in the background right now.
Yeah, we got requests to do footage, so we'll put some stuff
I've
back
been recording some of my games. I got a John Morant game, a Steph Curry game, a Dwight Howard game.
That game we ended up matching up against each other.
I didn't record that, did you?
Yes, I did.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that was great. At halftime, seeing both of our players' faces and our gamer tags at the top of the screen.
Because we were on opposite teams.
We were on opposite teams in both player of the half. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with playing Now Online player control, which some people would say, oh, that's just rec. As much as you'd think that, there's a slightly different mentality to it. It's honestly fun to me, being a fan of basketball as a sport. Mm-hmm. You can go out there and play like your favorite NBA player, and especially if you practice the different shots, their timings before you jump in, you can have fun. Or, you can
It feels like it's not as strict either.
Right, and you can just also just go in and be Giannis and be running dunk man on everybody.
And you get, if you want to change play styles every game, you pick a different player. Even if you play the same position, you got 4 or 5 selections.
Yeah.
Yeah, today I'm Jokic, tomorrow I'm Embiid, the next day I'm Anthony Davis.
Yeah. And if you play enough, you unlock historic players, and oh hey, I can be Prime Dwight Howard. I can be, 95 overall Kobe as a tier 2 legend. Like, there's all sorts of fun, different players that you can play as in My NBA Online if you just give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And if you rank up and if you threw a few leagues.
Hey, I mean, if nothing else, my team exists, I guess.
You and I have never been my team guys, and I honestly have no desire to get into my team, but I mean, some people are gonna enjoy. The point we're trying to make in all this is there's so much other stuff to 2K than just, hey bro, you wanna play 2K? Yeah, sounds great. What build are you gonna be? That's what we in our group have done for years. It's not the only way to play the game. There's more than one tab on the main menu for you to select.
Do you really need to... Oh, but the rewards. I don't get the rewards. Do you really need those rewards? Are you going to use them?
You grind and grind and grind, and you finally get that cyborg suit at level 39.
And then everybody else is wearing it.
And, this scrub over here that's a charcoal that, used his credit card to buy the levels because he just really wanted that cyborg suit. He now has the same swag as you. So what are you proving?
Well, I got it and I didn't pay for it. Okay, fine.
They don't know that.
No. Well, you can't expect to look unique. And besides, when the next when the next season comes out, what's it going to be next season? One of the guys in our group said, I asked him if he wanted to play my NBA, and he's like, no, bro, I can't. I got to grind. I want to hit this reward. Maybe next season. I already knew when season 2 dropped that it was going to be the same thing again. Because it's going to be something else. There's always that one thing that's like in that level 30 to level 40 range. Maybe it's just the floor setter if you're that into, min-maxing your build. Maybe it's just the floor setter. I got my floor setter for season 1, and I never claimed it. So I never claimed the reward. I hit the level, I never claimed the reward, so I don't have any floor setters on my build.
Honestly, I don't feel like I need a floor setter. Maybe that's just me, but the badges I use all the time, those are...
Golds and Hoffs.
Yeah, silvers, golds, Hoffs, those are all fine. Now, the gold floor setters I can understand, because if there's a badge that you want to make sure you have because, it's, for example, you're a crafty finisher and you usually go for Euro steps or hop steps, but every once in a while you want to throw in a spin and you don't really use it enough to keep your badge level. Stuff like that, I understand. You throw spin cycle on that gold floor setter and it's always good. But for me, I don't feel like I need that. Not with my build.
So, do you really need to grind super, super hard for those rewards?
I mean, some people enjoy it.
That's fine.
But don't feel like you have to grind just to get a reward that's going to be replaced by something else next season.
And if this is something that's always been in the back of my mind since seasons came out. I was like, because at 2K22, they bring out the seasons, I'm thinking, man, level 40 in 4 seasons get you legend? I could hit legend. I could have if I wanted to. But you know what I realized? I didn't really care for any of the rewards. The legend reward wasn't that great. By the time mascots came out, I was a little bit burnt out. I didn't quite get the push to mascots. Just, it wasn't worth it.
Really what it comes down to is don't play the game because you feel like you have to.
Or just for the reward.
Or just for a specific thing. Play the game to have fun.
In a way that lets you have fun with people you're going to have fun with in a mode that you think is fun.
Now, if you're a comp guy and for you fun is playing this super twitchy, really precise, I gotta be at my very best, there's a part of me that's like that. I enjoy that. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. But personally, I cannot do that all the time.
It's exhausting.
It is very exhausting. There's a lot of times that I just want to go out there and have fun playing with my friends and just kind of, chill.
And especially this year, unless and until they patch shooting outside of Pro-Am in the stage, every mode is sweaty comp hood.
That's what it feels like.
So you're not going to be able to just log in and chill and go to the rec and chill with the homies and do whatever. And it has nothing to do with zone defense. Is zone defense good? Yes, it's good. In fact, it's great. It can be beat. That's not the problem. The problem is you have to be locked in at all times because it doesn't matter who you're playing or what mode you're in. The game is demanding, and the guys you're playing against understand it as well and will be trying to meet that demand. There is no relaxation, for me anyway, in those modes. So unless and until they patch shooting outside of competitive modes, the best way to get on 2K and just chill is to play something other than My Career. Play something other than Park. So, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say on that.
Just be willing to try something else. That's all I'm going to say. Just be willing to try something else. It doesn't have to be Park or any of the other online competitive My Career modes. For you, maybe it's you're playing NBA games with your My Player. Maybe you're playing a My NBA, either offline or with your friends. Or you try Play Now online for a slightly different experience. Or you're just a guy that every once in a while you just sit down and play a Play Now game. You invite a buddy over and you just play couch, play together on the couch in 2K, like the old days. 2K was a game before the online modes came around. It's not all about the online modes, My Career and My Team. Be willing to try something. Just find a way to play the game, whether it's a different way to play online or a different game mode that's fun.
Or, shoot, if nothing else, Rocket League exists.
Yeah, find something else to play. You don't have to play 2K either. That's something that we've been struggling with. It's like, we all want to play 2K, but at the same time, I know I run into this a lot. I don't feel like trying super hard because I've tried super hard for the first 2 months of the game. I'm already tired of playing at my absolute best, day in, day out, for who knows how long every day. Just constantly working to play at my absolute peak. It's exhausting. Find something that's fun. And maybe your attitude towards 2K will change. Whether you find a different way to play, different game mode, a different game altogether, whatever.
And
just chill.
You might find that having a different mentality when it comes to 2K actually does help you to play better.
Yeah.
It helped me the other day in the rec. I started out pretty cold, and it's like, oh, I'm a little cold. And I toned things back. I just worked for my spots, took a couple of shots that I was very confident in. It was my post-scoring power forward. By the end of the game, I had 35 points, was by far the leading scorer on both teams. We lost by 5, but we were down by 18, and I was like the only guy that could score in the second half. So I basically single-handedly carried the team in the second half because I was able to just decompress, refocus, get a couple of shots up, get feeling good, find a rhythm, and just play my way. Is it comp? No, it's not comp. It's high post, fades, some hooks, and mid-range standstill jump shots, floaters over the center if I'm going downhill. Like, I got a layup rating, I've got a driving dunk rating, close shot, and a mid-range for fades. It's not really a comp build. But I was able to play my way, I was able to have fun, I put up a good performance, and I was happy with the way I played, even in a loss. I didn't demand the ball, I worked to get my teammates open looks when I could, Nobody else was really hitting that day, so we lost. But it's a lot better than trying to be the point guard, taking 33s, hitting 4 or 5 of them, and then throwing your controller through your monitor because 2K sucks. My jump shot is better than that, and I'm better than that. And 2K won't let me play any better than that. Because that's where I feel like a lot of people are right now.
Yeah. So, I think that's it.
Yeah.
We've said our piece for this episode anyways. I'm sure we'll be back talking about shooting again at some point.
I am going to put up a video about Project 1964 soon. A guy left a comment on one of my previous podcasts like, hey, I saw it said to check out the YouTube channel. I don't see a video on it. Am I in the right spot? Yeah, you're in the right spot. I haven't put the video up yet because I'm waiting to get the last draft class done. It's 7345, I think. 73, 1973, 1974, 1975 compressed draft. Because once you get to 1976, 2K's historic drafts are every single year. There's community-generated content starting in 1984, so we'll be only a few years away from that. Basically, I will have connected my timeline that I created to the rest of 2K content. I want to wait to put that video up until it's ready for people to run straight through if they want to, because they're going to get ahead of me in the draft classes that I make and the content that I provide. So I need them to have other content. Yes, the roster is done. Several draft classes are done. I'm working on that last one. Once I get that last one done, hopefully in a few days, I'll make a video about it. And I also put everything on hiatus for over a week because the processor on my computer fried and I had to go without a computer for a week, so...
Which is also, again, why this podcast got delayed.
But, that Project 1964, information on that is coming. I've got other roster projects in the works. I've got draft classes for other eras that I'm working on the side. Just kind of filling them in as we go. We're running a 2010s league with our friends. Yep. Hopefully, if we can get them to play the league. And I've created draft classes for that. So there are some for 2011, 2012, and I'm working on 2013. Anthony Bennett. And they're not all going to be on one profile. So when I make the 1964 video, I will go put together a guide for what profiles, alternate profiles I have those draft classes on. Some of them will be my brother's profiles as well, because we need like 5, 6, 7 2K profiles to host all of this stuff.
Because you're limited to 10 slots.
Yeah, because we're limited to 10 slots.
And 60 years of basketball history is a lot to cover.
Yeah. But that should do it for today. Yep. This is a YouTube video. If you could do all the YouTube video things, I'd very much appreciate that. Help this channel grow a lot. I just recently, a couple days ago, Ark Survival Ascended dropped. I am a big fan of Ark. So far, I've been pretty much enjoying the game. I'm going to start making content for that on my Ark channel. I know you're here for 2K content, so don't worry, we're not doing Ark on this channel. It'll be a different channel. This channel will keep getting its own content. If you are interested, I'll leave a link to that in the description. Other than that, I hope you guys are having a good day. Until next time, see ya.
See ya.